Hi everyone and welcome. So I've been getting this kind of nudging or urging, I guess you could say, from my guides to talk about something that we really don't talk so much about today. And it's something that we used to talk about. In fact, Wayne Dyer, for those of you that remember him, actually wrote a book about when you see it, when you believe it, you'll see it. I don't know if any of you remember that whole book, the book and the whole thing that he did on that. But it was when you believe it is when you'll see it. So for some reason, this has been coming up in my meditation, and then, like I said, kind of getting a nudging from my guides to have a conversation about it, because it still very much exists today. It's the truth of often how we function as human beings. So basically, I started to think about, well, what does that really mean? When you believe it, you'll see it. Or is this, and does it mean we have to do something in order to actually believe and then see? And kind of what I've come through thinking about this is that, one, it is true, if you look back on your life, as I did, oftentimes we don't actually see something that maybe we've been wanting until we actually believe it, then we see it. But this is really more of talking about it on an inner level. For instance, when I'm meditating or I'm communicating with my guides, and all this is done on an energetic level, right? I will be possibly asking for some help, asking for some clarity on what I'm thinking, and I believe that I'm going to get answers from my guides. Now, my experience has been I don't get an answer immediately very often, but within not that long of time, maybe a day or so, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter, I'll get an answer. But I always believe that I'm going to get some communication about what it is that I'm trying to figure out or trying to deal with from my guides. I remember back at a time when I had a business that I was running. I think I've mentioned before, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've had many businesses, and I was struggling with this business, and I was kind of asking my guides, what's going on? What should I be doing? What am I not doing? You know, why is this not working? And my guides kept saying to me, just relax and quit pushing. Just relax and quit pushing. And so at one time in my meditation, in my conversation with my guides, I said, you know, I'm really struggling. I'm not making the money. I'm really getting scared that I'm not gonna have the money that I need, and you keep telling me to relax and quit pushing, but that's not helping. And you know, why are you telling me that when I really need to have answers about what do I need to do to bring the money in? And my guides basically said, we wouldn't be telling you to relax and quit pushing if we weren't going to get you the money. So just relax and quit pushing, and the money will come. But you know, here's the deal. I believed, and I always have believed, for a very long time, that I would get some help or answers from my guides. I think at that time I was calling it give me a divine intervention, show me what's wrong. So, but I kept asking, you know, that's the other thing that we do sometimes. And for those of us that do have the connection with our guides, we all have a connection. It's if we're noticing, being aware of the connection, especially with things that are feeling challenging to us, we'll continue to ask for help because it's not showing up, right? We continue to ask, but we don't, because we're not believing that we're getting the help that we need. But we can ask 1,000 times or just that one time, and just one time is enough if we believed that would be enough. And we would start to get input or answers of what we're looking for. So this whole idea of when you believe it is when you'll see it is very much an internal situation. It's not like it happens out there. That that you ask for it out there and it manifests out there. It doesn't happen that way. The believing comes from within. It's an absolute trust. It's not a maybe. It's not okay if. It's a trust. And regardless of what you're seeing out there, like in my case that I was talking about, was not feeling I was feeling I wasn't making enough money, and that I was going to end up with a real problem. I was focused on the issue of no money, and every time I just kept asking and asking for this insight or this help. But once I finally stopped and did what they said, relaxed and quit pushing, is all of a sudden where things started to fall into place. You know, I got a hold of a right person, something, it was a while back now, quite a while back, but I remember just how things started to, on its own, fall into place, because I actually finally believed what my guides were telling me, to just quit pushing. In other words, the pushing was basically blocking what I wanted to have happen. So in today's world, right now, it's a very interesting time. We could look at this coronavirus that's going on, and how many people are absolutely in tremendous fear, and they're believing that that this could kill them. They're believing that they need to go out and overstock on everything. They're believing everything that they're hearing in the news, and it's causing a bunch of fear. And the fear is what they're believing. Now, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as this virus. It's happening right now in where are we? March 2020. But the believing that something horrendous is going to happen, this panic that's going on, particularly in the collective, is the way that we will, another side of looking at, when you believe it, you'll see it. So it's two sides of the coin. When you believe something awful is going to happen, and you keep believing it, and you keep putting energy and fear into it, then you'll probably see it, right? That's how those things happen. So on the other side of the coin, when it's a positive thing that you're asking for, whatever that is, something that you really want to have happen, and you can believe that, then eventually, yes, you're going to see that. It's tricky, huh? It's kind of a tricky balancing act is what I would call it. So for one thing, it's an awareness. The first thing we have to do is get aware of what is it that I'm actually believing. In other words, if you're having something happen in the outer world that you consider a challenge, or you're really uncomfortable with, it could be in your job. It could be that you think you can't get another job. It could be that you're out of work and you're not getting a job right now, or you're not getting interviews, and you begin to believe, I'm never going to get a job, or something, I don't have the proper credentials, or I can't compete with the others, whatever it is that's causing you this concern and causing you to believe, oh my God, I'm never going to get another job, oh my God, I'm going to go be on the street. All of the fear type beliefs, that's what you start seeing out there, right? That's exactly what starts to happen, is your belief in that is what's actually showing up for you, right? I mean, we've all been there with so many different things. So the first thing is to get aware of exactly what am I believing? Or is it the thoughts, those fearful thoughts that come and go, right? Is that where I'm off and running? In other words, like kind of being like a fish that's on a hook with a belief that says you're never going to get another job? Or am I letting these beliefs or these thoughts go by, but staying solid on the belief I will get a good job? And you do this from the inner. not the outer. You can't, well, you could do it, I guess you could scream it to the outer world, but that's not where it's going to happen. Everything happens from the inside out. So what we start with the inside and it manifests outside. That's how it works. Not going to change that. It's like gravity, right? It works in one way. So first of all, you go within. You go within and you start to get in touch with the inner part of you, your soul, your guides, your higher self. And you do this by sitting quietly. You do this by allowing the thoughts, fear thoughts, whatever thoughts, float by like clouds, but you stay centered. You're centering within. You're quiet. You use your breath to stay within and to stay in the body. And you allow yourself to just get quiet. And it's in that quiet time that you really begin to connect with the truth. Connect with your higher self that's telling you, that's saying to you, and it's not in words, it's an energy, so we interpret what that energy is, but it's saying you will have another job. You will get another job. And then you have to trust. So part of that trust is believing, right? Part of that trust is knowing that you're asking within, you're asking your guides, you're asking your higher self to help you. And in the helping of you, they're telling you to remove the fear factor, to not buy in to the fact that these fearful thoughts and the ego is pushing these fearful thoughts, to let them go by. And to figure out, where do you want to believe? You know? Like, if you really want something to happen, but you're believing the opposite, it's like one strikes out the other, right? You have to get into that inner place where you just know without a doubt. That's where you've got to get to. You know without a doubt that the universe has your back. You know without a doubt that your higher self has always been there and taken care of you. I mean, I think the majority of us, if we look back on our lives, there's many times we are in like awe that we made it through something, or that the disaster that we thought was going to happen for sure didn't happen, or that some miracle took place that we don't even know how that happened. I mean, we all have those experiences, but we tend to kind of turn those into like a once in a lifetime, or it just, I don't know, it automatically happened, but it normally doesn't happen for me that way. In other words, we start believing the opposite. Even though we know what happened, we don't believe that it continued to happen, right? You know that feeling where, yeah, that happened once, but man, I mean, I was just lucky. So we tend to go to that opposite side of always thinking that even though it happened, it can't be depended upon, probably. But the only reason it can't be depended upon is because of our beliefs. So we really need to get in touch with what are our beliefs. And when I say we need to, what I'm saying is that's the only way that we move in the direction that we want to move in. You know, we don't have to do that. We can continue to not believe, or to believe the worst, or whatever it is, and just kind of play in those circumstances, right? Also, the thing is, and I've talked about this many times before, is that we are in a more dense energy, the 3D, and in the denser energies that we've come into this body with, it is oftentimes then these kind of beliefs or lack of beliefs are what is being manifested. So it does take an awareness, a desire, a really strong desire to not want to play in the third dimension. Since we're multidimensional, we don't have to play in there. We can move outside of that dimension where it's not as dense, and where we can begin to really practice. And that's really what it is. We just practice this idea of when you believe it, you'll see it. And then we need to decide, what do we want to believe? I mean, there's always the two sides of the coin. Do we want to believe the worst, or do we want to believe what we want? You know, that's it. Oftentimes there's the programming and the way that we grew up, the waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe the culture that you grew up in was like, life's hard and you just have to deal with it. In other words, kind of that victim mentality. Bad things always happen to me. I don't know, there's a zillion ways that we begin to look at things, but oftentimes it is that unconscious programming that we learned somehow to believe in the worst, believe in the fear, believe in the chaos, believe in the challenge that I'm never going to get through this, or believe in the things that we really don't want to have happen, but that's what we're believing in, you know, rather than turning around, looking within, and saying, well, what do I want? Well, what you want is what's most important. What is your desire? But you've got to give it some oomph. If you say, I want this, but I'm believing that, then you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. They cancel each other out, right? I want this, but I believe I won't get it. Want that, but I'm never going to have it. If you think about it, it's kind of insane. Yeah. But it is part of what we humans tend sometimes to do until we kind of start to wake up out of this dreamy state, or out of this hypnotism that we've been in through our families, through our culture, etc. And we start to kind of wake up out of this drowsiness and start to go, but wait a minute, is that true? What I'm believing? Is that what I want? And then we start to look back on our life and we start to find evidence of, man, the times that I believed awful things and I really was believing it, it happened, like believing I was going to get sick, or believing that I was going to get in a car accident. These things happen. Now, I'm not saying they happen like boom, because you really have to believe either way, right? You really have to believe you're going to get in an accident, or you really have to believe you're going to get sick. Just like you really have to believe that the things that you desire and want are going to happen. It's going to happen in the time frame, not yours, but the universe time frame, because your guides, your higher self, they have to get things into place to meet your desire. Trust me, our higher self, our guides, the universe, whatever you call it, absolutely love us. They're our team. They're our cheerleaders. They're there to fulfill our desires and to prevent us from, if they can, help prevent us from going off and to the woods, going off into directions that are going to be struggling and suffering. They're talking to us all the time. We just don't listen. Maybe we don't believe they're there, right? If you haven't been talking to your guides or hearing your higher self, doesn't matter what you label it, then you're not believing it, right? You may say, I know I have friends that say they have the higher self, or they're intuitive, they get a kind of gut feeling of doing something, or which direction to take. But me, I don't know. I just don't have that. I'm not intuitive. I've never heard my guides. It's just, I guess I stay in my mind. I don't know, but it's just not, it doesn't happen to me. Building the case for believing that you can't hear your guides. Simple, really. So, if you've been on the track of believing the worst, then it's going to take some practice to undo that programming, to get yourself out of the state of being hypnotized in a way, or being like, it's kind of like a rut in the road. That's the rut you've gone down so many times. So it's going to take some real awareness and desire. Those are the two things. If you have the true desire, a very true desire, and you are aware of how you have been operating, what you have been believing, then you have a great opportunity here. In fact, it's a wonderful opportunity. You could even say it's wonderful because you have been believing the other way, all the bad things that are going to happen to you, and all the things that you don't hear your guides, and so on and so forth. It's easy then for you to do the flip, because you know what it's been like on the other side, right? So if you really have gotten good, which a lot of us have, at believing the fearful stuff, believing the stuff that we really don't want to have happen, and then there's that part that we do want to have happen, but we don't believe it, well, you've got a great opportunity, because you now can do the flip, because you know what it's like to believe, right? You know? So you're just turning that energy over, like the other side of the coin, so that you can start having the experience of, once you believe, you'll see it, of fulfilling your desires. We co-create. This works out with our inner to the outer. That's what co-create means. So when we really get clear on believing the inner, believing that this is what I want, this is the desire that I have, and at the beginning, I know it can seem like you're saying you believe it, but you really don't. But that's just a process that you're going to go through. So you go through that process of saying it, and maybe not, probably not necessarily 100% believing it, and then even through the day, you will see evidence in the ego's mind of, see, I told this is not going to happen. You can see right out here, not going to happen. You got another rejection on your resume. See, it's not going to happen. Don't get caught in that. Don't get caught in that. Stick with the idea of what you want and keep going within, and working on the belief that you have this team of guides, your higher self, the cheerleaders, those unseen energies that are here for the sole purpose to get you what you want. Now, if there's something that you want that really would not be in your best interest, then your guides will kind of take you on a little bit of a detour, possibly, to get you where you would get what you really want, or you would get the thing that's in your highest interest. But it all begins with the belief. It's just really amazing, you know? I would suggest that even you just start by sitting quietly and ask within to be shown what are your beliefs that you're not conscious of. And that'll come in different ways, very different ways. You could see something online on Facebook, a quote of something that'll go, click. Oh, wow, that's how I'm believing. It could come in an article, in a book, in a friend saying something, or you hear someone say something. I mean, it will come, and you will get it if you ask. But you got to ask, right? And then once you ask, you've got to believe that you're going to start to see these things. My goodness, what do you have to lose, right? You have everything to gain. It turns our life into so much of a pleasure, a less stress, when we're not constantly looking out there to get evidence why something that we want, need, or think should happen isn't happening. Yeah, we don't go there anymore. We know it's going to happen. You can listen oftentimes to very successful people, and they'll tell you they just kept believing in spite of what was happening out there, in spite of all the turn downs that they got. They just kept believing because it was something they desired so much in their heart. So that's the place you want to get in touch with. the desire in your heart, not the fear if it doesn't. Yeah? So, I would say too, in today's world with all the kind of craziness and chaos that appears to be out there, this is a great time to practice within and what your desire is. And then just sit back and watch. Yeah? Just sit back and watch it all unfold and manifest in the exact best possible way for you. Okay. Well, I hope that this made sense. And I hope that it actually will inspire some of you to actually start to look at what are you believing and what's showing up, right? Okay, well, first of all, I'd love to hear your comments as you try this, so please leave comments below, or if you have tried it or you have something that you had an example, please leave some comments below. Certainly if you liked this video, then please click like. If you have not subscribed, then please subscribe to the video. And if you want to hit that little bell to the right of the subscription, then that'll alert you when new videos are coming up. Okay? Also, if you feel that this video could be helpful to anybody, feel free to share it for sure. And see if this can help somebody else as well. In the meantime, definitely take care, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.